In life, there are honest mistakes, like forgetting to take out the trash, and then there are next level mistakes, like forgetting to take out the trash, emptying it all over your neighbor's lawn, and tossing the can through his window. Sports are full of both kinds of mistakes. Players, coaches, and fans all make them, from interfering with Moises Alou, to calling a timeout you don't have, to not giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch at the goal line. Today, we're focused on the stripe mistakes. No, not the Steelers throwbacks, the blatant mistakes from referees, umpires, and officials, and those are coming up right after this.
Hey ref, check your voicemail. We missed some calls.
From the heartbreaking to the infuriating, these mistakes change the course of individual careers, championships, entire seasons, and even rule books. These are the 5 most blatant missed calls that even Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, and Sandra Bullock could have seen from a mile away. Number 5, almost perfect. What's the word when you mess up, but you instantly realize you messed up? For now, let's call it a Jim Joyce. In a 2010 game against Cleveland, Detroit Tigers pitcher Armando Galarraga had retired 26 straight batters. One more out, and he had the elusive perfect game. With 2 outs in the 9th, the Indians' Jason Donnell hit a soft grounder to first, which took Miguel Cabrera to his right as Galarraga ran to cover the bag. Cabrera fired it to the tall pitcher, and the ball beat Donnell's foot by about half a second. Apparent to everyone outside of first base ump Jim Joyce. Cabrera was stunned, the crowd was shocked, and Galarraga could only smile, having lost his perfect game. Galarraga retired the very next batter, escaping with just a one-hit shutout, or as it was later called, the imperfect game. Most pitchers would likely want Jim Joyce's badge and gun taken away, but Galarraga showed the spirit of forgiveness after the debacle, saying, "Nobody's perfect, everybody's human, I understand. I give the guy a lot of credit for saying, I need to talk to you." You don't see an umpire tell you that after a game. I gave him a hug. I would probably give him a fist. Joyce was given the benefit of the doubt for his era, eliciting many other players like Mariano Rivera and Don Larson to come to his defense. In 2011, Galarraga and Joyce collaborated on a book fittingly called Nobody's Perfect, which described the process and aftermath of Joyce's blown call. Aside from the obvious connotation, this call may have had serious historical consequences, possibly serving as the final straw for instant replay advocates in baseball, which is totally a good thing, I think. Number 4, divine intervention. Soccer, or football as it's known in most parts of the world, has one very obvious titular rule. One that Diego Maradona violated without consequence in a match between Argentina and England in the 1986 World Cup. The two countries met in the quarterfinals of the tournament the same year their respective fans had brawled in the streets of Mexico. Sounds about right. 0-0, 51 minutes into the game, Argentina penetrated England's defense, but the ball was popped in the air, leaving it up to Diego Maradona and England keeper Peter Shilton to jostle for possession. Shilton was 8 inches taller than Maradona, but the Argentinian midfielder got to the ball first with his left hand. The ball rolled off his pole beater and into the net, and Argentina celebrated to keep up the appearance of a legitimate goal. Ali bin Nasser, the referee, claimed he did not see Maradona's hand. The goal stood. Maradona scored yet another goal before it was all done, an incredible bob and weave across half the pitch that was dubbed the goal of the century. Argentina won 2-1, and Maradona said it was his own head and the hand of God that scored the first goal. I see what you did there. Argentina did not apologize for the oversight, seeing the game as revenge for the Falklands War. They rode their luck all the way to the finals, where they defeated West Germany and hoisted the cup. God may save the Queen, but he was certainly an Argentinian fan in 1986. Number 3, reversal of fortune. Game 6 of the 1985 World Series. The Cardinals led 3-2 and were just 3 outs away from a title when Royals pinch hitter Jorge Horta squibbed a grounder to the right side. Cards first baseman Jack Clark ranged over to make the play and toss it to first, where reliever Todd Worrell stepped on the bag for the apparent out. Not so fast. Like the infamous Galarraga play, first base ump Don Denkinger called the runner safe. This time though, it wasn't a perfect game on the line, it was the whole frickin' season. The Royals took their gift and cashed in. The next man up, Steve Balboni, bloops a single into right and Orta heads to second. After an unsuccessful sacrifice bunt retired Orta at third, a pass ball set up runners at first and second with 1 out. Worrell intentionally loaded the bases and Dane Lorg blooped a single to score 2. Game over. As we know, the Royals went on to win Game 7, and while they weren't down to their final strike like the Texas Rangers that St. Louis defeated 26 years later, the Cardinals may have another trophy on their shelf if not for one missed call. Number 2, are you literally blind? We all knew this one was coming. With 2 minutes left in the NFC Championship game and the score knotted up at 20 between the New Orleans Saints and the visiting LA Rams, Drew Brees uncorked a long ball that Ted Ginn reeled in at the 13-yard line. One more first down and the Saints could sit on the ball, kick a field goal, and go to the Super Bowl. Cue 3rd and 10. Drew Brees drops back and throws a flare to the right intended for an open Tommy Lee Lewis. But Rams corner nickel Roby Coleman leveled the wide receiver before the ball arrived. Nothing from the side judge. Crickets. The Saints sideline erupted and head coach Sean Payton chewed out the officials to no avail. New Orleans kicked a field goal and would have to play defense. They didn't play defense all that well. Jared Goff drove the ball far enough for Greg the Leg Zuerlein to try a 48-yarder, which drifted right but evened out to send the game to overtime. The Saints won the toss and had a chance to end the game, but John Johnson picked off a Brees pass near midfield and again set up Gregatron for a game winner, this time from 57 yards. It was good and probably would have been true from 80. Damn, son. The Saints went marching back to their couches and social media, and the Rams would of course go on to score just 3 points in the Super Bowl 2 weeks later. But the non-call was so egregious that New Orleans and the rest of the league may never forget, even prompting the competition committee to pass a rule making pass interference a challengeable call. Somehow I think the league will still blow it. Before we get to the number 1, I gotta show love to my hockey peeps with, of course, the infamous foot in the crease. Back in the 90s, an offensive player couldn't be in the crease, pretty much for any reason. It was a dumb rule that has since been deleted, mostly because in the third OT of Game 6 of the 1999 Stanley Cup Finals, Brett Hull scored a goal to end it all. Well, he did end the series, but sparked controversy forever, as when he kicked the puck to himself, his foot was in the crease, and the goal should have been negated. Even after review, which this one could actually be looked at, the goal stood. Maybe the refs were tired. Maybe they just wanted to shaft the Sabres and send them into a 20-year black hole. Who knows? And finally, the number 1, the Fail Mary. If you're a Green Bay Packers fan, there have been 2 moments in Seattle that may have caused you to leave a fist-sized hole in your own television. The most recent one was the 2014 NFC Championship game, but the original was the one, the only, Fail Mary. Stuck in the midst of an ugly lockout between the NFL and its referees, the Packers and Seahawks played a Monday Night Football game at Quest Field early in the 2012 season, a contest presided over by replacement referees, a group of scabs cobbled together by the NFL at the last minute. The Packers, who had just come off of a 15-1 regular season, were the obvious favorites, but Seattle's defense battered Aaron Rodgers in the first half, sacking him 8 times in total, while rookie quarterback Russell Wilson kept the Seahawks in it with a 41-yard touchdown pass to Golden Tate in the second quarter. Green Bay battled back to take a late 12-7 lead after a 1-yard touchdown from Cedric Benson, leaving Seattle one last drive to win it. Down to their last play from the Green Bay 24, Wilson bought time by scrambling to his left, then rainbowed a pass intended for Golden Tate. Tate battled for the ball with safety MD Jennings, and Jennings wrestled it away. However, the 2 referees on the scene made now famous conflicting gestures, one calling for a touchback and the other a touchdown. They conferred and ultimately called it a Seahawks touchdown, giving them the win, despite the clear evidence that Jennings was the one who possessed the ball in the end zone. The game was quickly dubbed the Fail Mary and gave the referees total leverage in their negotiations, leading to their return just 3 days later for the following Thursday night game, perhaps the only time referees have gotten a standing ovation. They still suck, just somehow less than a band of school teachers and accountants, though I get why they made that call. I wouldn't want to get murdered over a temp job. Being an official is hard work, but with these missed calls, it's fair to wonder whether refs should be administered random eye tests like players having to piss in a cup. And of course, they all had varying impacts and lasting effect. Perhaps Armando Galarraga had to sacrifice his perfect game in order for the MLB to finally take instant replay seriously, however you feel about it, and same goes for the new pass interference rule. But just as in every other facet of sports and perhaps life, mistakes will always be made, sometimes at rather inopportune times. And who knows, you might get a book deal out of it, or just turn it into a weekly live stream. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more interesting vids on sports, and speaking of that, check them out. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to the end of this video.